Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Modern SaaS Podcast. This week, we want to talk about the ping pong that happens between scheduling your meetings. When I was trying to schedule meetings with some prospects, and also when I was trying to schedule meetings with some other vendors, and I observed some patterns who is handling these experiences the best, who is actually what was the worst experience. So I thought, why don't we discuss those topics? We defined some rules internally that, hey, these are the best guidelines that we should do. So, yeah, that's what I thought on top of our mind we should discuss today.
Yeah, I absolutely love this because this is something not just we have been discussing internally, but this is an experience that all of us have a lot of thought about, and we see this in different facets of scheduling meetings. It is not just
Mhm.
about how we send out the calendar invite and all of that, but it's also about as a customer what is the kind of experience somebody gets. Even if it's internal meeting, it holds the same thing. So fundamentally what I would like to start with today is let's talk about even from sending out an invite, right?
Mm,
So is it right to say just drop in a link, maybe a calendly link or whatever they are using, and saying that,
mm,
hey, book me here? What is the
mm.
kind of experience, what is the kind of thing that we are sending out there? I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts here, so let's start from there.
100%. The number one reason I feel just sending a calendar link, yes, you're trying to make it more efficient and you're trying to
Mm.
optimize the back and forth that happens. And Calendly is absolutely very popular, amazing service. But at the same time, I don't think that sending just your Calendly kind of link, and could be some other service as well, maybe Chili Piper link or
Yeah.
HubSpot URL or whatever it could be, we don't believe that's the right experience. The number one, when reps send those kind of links and saying that, hey, here's my link, book a time with me, you have to understand who's requesting the time. So if you're requesting the time, then you need to be giving respect to them for their time. So the ideal experience should be you're saying, you're asking them first, hey, how's your availability in the next few days or next week? And yes, you don't only also want to end just with that, because that's going back to the
Yeah.
ancient ways of doing ping pong, playing ping pong back and forth. What you really want to say that you're still showing respect to them and asking them, hey, how's your availability in the next few days? And if it's easier to schedule, here is my link. That way you're coming across polite, you're giving them importance, but at the same time you're also being modern in sharing the link so that you're reducing the back and forth. And so many times when I see when our vendors, their account executives reach out to me, they have this very direct way of saying, hey, book time here. It comes across rude, and I'm going to use that link anyways, I get it. But just the way how you said, the buyers will feel more respected. And that's one of the slightest point, the nuance that you can add, and you can make that big difference.
Absolutely. The reason why I love this is I have not even thought about this in this nuance. I've always gone for efficiency, and what I've seen over the few months is that when we start doing something like this, it could be
Hmm,
just a small step, but it ultimately contributes to the buyer experience in a whole different way. Saying that, hey, somebody is putting me first ahead of them, though they want things to be efficient, they are considerate. So that makes a massive difference. And next thing in that sequence is also kind of giving them clarity as to
hmm,
what to expect in that meeting. Now,
hmm,
with all these links as an extension, what we often see is that a set of forms which talk
hmm,
about, hey, give us an overview of what you're going to speak, this and that. But when we send out an agenda, or when
hmm,
we can do something like that, how can we make it modern in terms of efficiency, at the
hmm,
same time talk about giving that clarity in sense of what they can expect, and how to also make sure that yes, you come prepared, and at the
hmm.
same time I make sure that the meeting also happens.
Great question and great segue. I think the way I think about this is that first observe, without these modern automation tools, what the experience used to be. So normally, if you're sending invites purely manually, historically we used to write agenda in the calendar invite that, hey, there would be a dedicated title why you're meeting somebody, a request for something, interview or demo or whatever it could be. You would put that in the title of the invite, and then you would also have an agenda defining this is what's going to happen, and then you'll manually send that invite. On the other hand, obviously, we wanted to make this process efficient, so we started adopting these automation tools for scheduling related links. Now, the problem with these links is that people only have one calendar link, and they send that same calendar link for all different kinds of meetings. When they're scheduling
Yeah.
demos with prospects, when they're scheduling follow up meetings with prospects, or check in calls, support calls, or could be an interview as well. And the problem now happens is that these default links or events that you create in these scheduling applications, they have the same title, how the meeting is going to show up in your calendar. They don't have specific agenda that's defined. And when you're looking back your meetings, you don't also understand how did you spend your entire day or your week? What kinds of meetings you were the demo meetings? What kinds of meetings were interviews? So you also, as a person who's scheduling these meetings, you don't have visibility into these different kinds of meetings as well. So alternative approach, the more modern approach that you can do that's efficient for you and also better experience for your buyer would be create different scheduling links for different kinds of events. One of the things that we do at Avoma, we have literally events for every single of the different kinds of interactions that do with our customers or prospects or everyone else. So as I mentioned, our demo link URL is different. And based on that, the title of that event is going to be different. The agenda that automatically being sent in that invite is also different. Similarly, when we send an onboarding scheduling related meeting, we have a different event for onboarding. Now, the title of that onboarding meeting is also going to be different, and the agenda is going to be different. And guess what happens because of this? Now, I have, when our prospects get that invite, they clearly understand the purpose of the meeting. Oh, this is a demo meeting. So the purpose of the meeting is added in the invite itself. And it's not just first name meeting with the second person name. And so that's a very generic event title. I think you should take a step extra and try to customize the event titles as well. That way, prospects get better experience. They know what this meeting is going to be. So when they're joining your meeting, they're already prepared for that. If it's a support call, have a support title there. Support, Avoma support for so and so company name. Now they would immediately know this is a support call and they would have different expectation. And so that's a simple thing, a simple hack that you can do that I have seen so many people when they're sending invites to me. These are generic titles that they are sending invites. And you can take that extra step
Yeah.
and try to get a little bit granular and provide better experience, but also have more efficiency and effectiveness in how you manage your day and how you manage your calendar.
Right, right. And as an extension that, there are different kinds of agendas where you say that these are the things that you expect in a meeting. But
Mhm.
more than that, it's also about, you have to ensure that these people show up.
Mhm.
So that is the next important step that is on both sides. And it is not new for anyone who has been running discovery calls or demo calls or any kind of a call that from time to time you do have this no shows that happen. So is
Mhm.
there a way to prevent it? As a sane person, I would say there's no chance to 100% prevent it, but is
Yeah,
there a better way of managing that?
100% there is a better way, and there is also a modern way. So, if I look at it, stuff happens, life happens. We know that something urgent comes up when you are scheduling meeting with your prospect. You're not the most important thing for them. So you got to accept that there's their life. Maybe something urgent comes up and or important comes up that they have to prioritize that over the time they have booked with you. Now, this is where what experience that we provide to them, what experience they have it when they want to come back, inform about that experience that, hey, you know what, I can't join this meeting today. How do we handle that experience? There are a lot of nuances that happens there. So let's talk about how do you even reduce the percentage of people who are not going to show up last minute. Obviously, because what happens, why the no shows is a big deal. And I've seen across our customers, typically you would see 10 to 15% of the time people don't show up. Even though they have accepted the invites, they will not show up. And this is not just in our customer base. I'm looking at across our customers, their own meetings. This is a very common scenario I've seen. Now, to reduce the no-show itself, obviously you can send a couple of email reminders ahead of time. You can send it manually, but realistically, it's not going to happen. You might do it a few times. So you can start automating that. And there are a lot of services, including these scheduling services, that allow sending reminders ahead of time. The best way, in my opinion, is to have multiple way of sending reminders. So there is an automation that you can do, like send reminders 24 hours. Don't send it just 15 minutes. That's too late already sending a reminder. Can you send a 24 hours reminder so that people get it 24 hours before, and if they want to change something, they still have an option to go and reschedule and change. A lot of these scheduling apps also allow you to add cancellation and rescheduling links right in the invite itself. And so when you send this reminder notification, if they want to cancel or reschedule, you give them experience right at that time. So it's a lot easy for them to manage that experience. The reason why I'm saying this, that you don't want people to come and schedule last minute, because you were preparing for that meeting, you were spending time, you were blocking your time, and maybe if you hear about the rescheduling ahead of time, that's okay. You're still rescheduling, but that time now you can reuse for something else. And people wait really last minute to understand that, oh, client cannot make it or prospect cannot make it. So 24 hours is a good time to remind them. Now, realistically, people are going to say, oh, I cannot make it and something like that. That's when we should allow them to reschedule as well. I'll pause here because there are a few more nuances that even after you send them notifications or reminders, people will say that, okay, I'm going to show up, and they will still not show up. And there are nuances how to handle that. But I'll let you see if you have any thoughts and questions here.
No, I'm absolutely enjoying this because I see this as a two-sided game.
Mhm.
One, yes, as a prospect, somebody is going to have this issue of something comes up last minute. Say, I get a notification 24 hours in advance, and I still think I can make it, but last minute something comes up. Yes, I can still go ahead and reschedule it. But purely, when we are thinking about giving this holistic modern SaaS better buyer experience, we also have to think about how we as a company can improve this from our side, right? So
Yes.
let's for a minute flip the switch and talk about what if something comes up for us in the last minute.
Mm,
Are there better ways that we can inform the customers in advance? Now there are two specific scenarios where I would love for you to delve a little deeper. One
mm,
is there are going to be situations where you're going to be late, and
mm.
there are also situations where you totally cannot make it. So, how do you handle these two situations?
Let's take one by one. And I think the same applies to
Sure.
prospects as well. And we can probably also cover that as well. But let
Absolutely.
me cover the
Yes. Yes.
experience first. If we are at the fault here and we cannot make something up, something happened in our life,
Right.
or and we are joining late. Let's consider the joining late scenario first. If you're going to join late, one of the things I see a lot of the times, people have these Zoom conference or something set up, and as a host, many times people have these settings where other people cannot join the meeting until the host is not starting the meeting itself. And so what happens is, first of all, ideally, if you're running late, you should send an email to prospects maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes ahead of time saying that, hey, I might be running late for a few minutes, but I'll be joining very soon, something like that. If you're going to run more than 10 minutes late, you should try to reschedule the meeting itself. You should not expect prospect to wait for 10 minutes for you. So that's the number one rule, that know confidently how much time it's going to take you. And then it's okay to completely tell them that I'm extremely sorry, something happened, I could not make for this meeting. Can we reschedule it? That's totally okay. And then when you again ask them to reschedule, send that rescheduling ring right there so that they can book it right there. But let's say you hope that you will join in few minutes. Now, one of the preferences I have is that do not block the conferencing setting where people cannot join the meeting. The reason is that a lot of the times there are multiple people from your company who you have invited to join the meeting. There are multiple people your prospect side that you have also invited that who were supposed to join. Now, just because you have that one setting that the host cannot join the meeting, everyone else is waiting in the waiting room. Now imagine if you're running late, totally fine, but let everyone else at least join and have some conversation among themselves. Let them introduce each other. And that way you are still making sure that they don't feel that they're waiting for so long, and they feel that they're at least getting started. Yes, the core agenda did not get started, but at least they feel the conversation has started. They start getting to know each other and all of that. But let's say you could not join, or you know that you are not able to make it completely for that meeting. I've also seen, yes, rescheduling as an option, but also imagine how hard it was to get the prospect to schedule time with you. If it's important client, important prospect, and you know that getting this time on their calendar was really hard, there's an alternative option. The alternative option is that you actually find another owner in the company, another person in the company who can run that show or who can run that meeting. Google Calendar, for example, allows you to change the ownership. So what you're doing is that ahead of time, you're changing the ownership to someone else and you're making them as a host, assuming they have a context about the meeting or so on and so forth.
This brings me into looking at two different factors.
Hmm.
One, does the person who joins in has enough context? Because if you had multiple conversations with somebody before, and then this is the continuation, then the other person who comes in needs to know what has happened. And
Yeah.
then at the same time, if somebody else is taking over in your place, the prospect also needs to know that today I'm going to be talking to somebody else other than Aditya.
So I think the way I would say, if it's a continuation, ideally you should not change the ownership because you have the context, you have the relationship, and if it was not planned, you cannot just throw it on someone else's calendar and then expect them to go and perform as well. This is typically
Right.
useful if it's a first conversation. You schedule a meeting and you know how it is to schedule the first meeting and you tried your hard, but somehow something happened and you're not able to attend that meeting. Now, in that case, you can still change the ownership and hand it over to someone else in the interest of giving a better experience to your buyers because it was hard for them to find the time. They had also block their time and they were prepared to do have chat with you. So I would not change those things last minute and I would rather change the ownership and hand it over to someone else. And when you do that, yes, either the new owner can reintroduce themselves. A lot of the times what you have to do is also once you change the ownership, it's also better to go and update your zoom details because sometimes people also do these things where they change the ownership, but they don't change the Zoom details in the invite. And now, guess what happens? The prospect is joining the other host Zoom invite, and they're just waiting there. The meeting is not started, and you're also giving the bad experience. So these are details, Yag. I mean, this is where you're getting tactical, but these nuances matter to provide a seamless experience to your buyer or your customer when they're scheduling time with you.
Absolutely. The theme of this entire discussion, when I looked at two different pieces that we have discussed today, one where we are talking about having separate links, and then we are talking about asking people, does it make sense? Like, are you free in the next week? Can I send dates in this way instead of
Yeah.
just having that ping pong? And then this aspect of transferring ownership. When you look at it, though all of these things look like smaller, minute things, but they have
Yeah.
a compounding effect. At the end of the
Hmm.
day,
That's a great point.
all of these smaller things constitute the holistic buyer experience. Now, the other factor to also look at is, since we touched upon the factor of somebody not needing to wait, but still there are
Hmm.
going to be certain situations where, either parties are maybe not showing up or things have not informed,
Yeah.
and then one party shows up to the meeting. So should we have some sort of a cutoff time saying that what's the max time that we can wait or the prospect can wait? That's also, I think, important to discuss here.
Yeah, there is definitely the way at least I handle it, and I think it's a better way. You should not. A lot of the times I see that people say that, oh, you have to wait for prospect for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. I don't. That's a valid approach. Yes, prospects or customers are absolutely important, but you're also important. If you're just waiting, not doing anything, you're also devaluing your time, and you need to indicate that to prospect as
Yeah.
well. The way I do it, I typically give 3-4 minutes for somebody else to join in. If they don't join in the first 2 or 3 minutes, then I'll immediately start sending them another email to them. Hey, I'm online on Zoom or Google Meet, whatever it is. We decided to meet. Are you still available to join? I'm going to wait for another 5 minutes. If you're running late, totally understand, but I'll wait another 5 minutes. If you cannot make another 5 minutes, here's my link to reschedule it again. And so you're still giving them telling them that I'm going to wait, but I'm not going to wait perpetuity or something like that. But that way they also get notification as well. And sometimes they'll reply to me, sorry, just running in few minutes. Then I know that they're still coming in. Then I'll wait for
Yeah.
another extra 5 minutes, so around 10 minutes mark. If they still don't join, then I'll hang up and I'll send another follow-up email. Hey, sorry we could not touch base today. I waited for you. Here's my another scheduling link to reschedule this call, and totally understand things happen. Don't worry about it. Let's connect again. But that way you're optimizing your time. You're moving on to the next task, but you're also being respectful of their time, and you're also not making them feel guilty there is an important part of that as well. You have to come across subtly that, hey, it's okay, life happens, we are all good, I moved on, let's reschedule it. So that's how I handle it when prospects don't show up.
I was going to say that I absolutely love the examples that you gave, because, see, at the end of the day, most things in sales, marketing, or holistic buyer experience is not about the set of things that you do, but it's
Mhm.
about how we do it, right?
I
So
love
that
it.
how part becomes so very crucial. I think that to me is the biggest takeaway or the most common thread across all things that we discussed today. So to sum up, I would say we have to make sure that we have separate links to make sure that people understand what is this meeting for, and also it becomes easier on our end to manage and look at where are the different places I spent my time today, and am I making it easier on the customer. And then the second part is we are looking at, are we sending out a clear agenda to set the expectations. And then the third key thing that I absolutely enjoyed is sending out that no show reminder in advance. But the key
Yeah.
thing is also allowing option for somebody to reschedule. And the favorite part is, of course, I did not even know that you could hand over to another person when you could not show up. That's a very interesting and new learning for me, a key takeaway for me. And I've gone through this experience personally where I'm waiting and it says the host is in another meeting, and it's like you don't know. Sometimes it's like even 20 minutes, 30 minutes it happens. So it makes sense for the other person to give you the option to come in and connect with other people and start off the conversation. And finally, the best part is how do you finish off, or how do you schedule another meeting when the person does not show up? How do you reach out to them and make sure that they are still coming up, or they've totally missed this out, still giving them the opportunity to reschedule and doing it in a way that either party doesn't feel bad about it. Absolutely. So am I missing anything here, Aditya?
No, I think I like the fact that you said that. The way I tell our team is that every interaction that we are going to have with our buyer or customer needs to be a thoughtful interaction. That thoughtful
Yeah,
word is really, really important. People miss that big part because this is a scheduling experience. That itself is such a small
yeah,
piece of the entire buyer experience that you're going to have. But even in that scheduling experience, how you handle each of these interactions, first time they're scheduling with you, they're running late, you're running late, all those rescheduling situations, every single thing, if you thought out well, you can put the hat trying to be over optimizing your own efficiency. Yes, you want to be efficient, I get that. But also think, what is our buyer experience is going to be in all of these situations? When you read those emails, how are they going to feel about it? Are they feeling invited, or are they feeling who has the power, who has the respect for each other? So you'll start feeling those things in the words have power. So that's why it's important that how each of these interactions, how thoughtful you are, and that will provide a best buyer experience. And that's how people will feel, hey, this is a modern SaaS company, I loved working with them, this experience itself was amazing. And that's where even your selling starts, right from those interactions itself. Because by the time the buyer has already made a positive impression about you, they've already made that, they already feel that you are a likable brand. And that's exactly where the modern SaaS experience is going to be.
yeah, absolutely. And this also reminds me of a very famous quote that Jay Bear made once, where he said that with every interaction that a prospect or a customer has with your organization, doesn't matter which department, who and who, but it's that they're either moving closer towards you as a company or moving away from your brand. So every single touch point really, really matters. And at the end of the day, it's not about it is whose responsibility, which function delivers what, but what we as an organization, what kind of experience that we deliver.
There's another thing that I started thinking about. When people send me invite, typically it's always 30-minute or 1 hour. There's nothing in between. And I do believe that Google also has this setting, and I use that very frequently, something called speedy meetings.
Mhm.
And I don't know what exactly it's called. And the whole idea is that, so Google has default drop down that you want to schedule, let's say, 30-minute meeting or 1 hour meeting. Behind the scene, you can define that if you try to schedule 30 minutes, on your calendar, it will actually schedule for 25 minutes. If you try to schedule for 1 hour, on your calendar, it will try to schedule for 50 minutes. What it's doing is that, on one hand, what you want to cover in 30 minutes, probably you can cover in 25 minutes as well. But give that
Yeah,
extra 5 minutes buffer so that people are running in back to back. they have that breathing time for whatever natural breaks or water breaks, could be anything. You're also being thoughtful here when you're sending these invites to your prospects that, hey, I'm not going to take 1 hour on your calendar. I'm going to take probably 50 minutes. Imagine somebody believing that, oh my God, I have 10 minutes after this meeting to catch up on something in between. They like it. And this is exactly, if you can cover something in 1 hour, I can bet my life on that you can cover something in 50 minutes as well.
Right.
But this is exactly how you're giving time to your prospects or you're on their calendar, and they like that experience as well. So that's another thing that I always do when I send invites to candidates or anyone else. I schedule 5 minutes shorter amount of time.
No, that's fantastic. It also reminds me of the Parkinson's law that the more time you have, your work will fill up that time, right? So, absolutely. Amazing. So I think that's a good place to close this episode. And as always, what I would do is for you listeners and all our supporters, I would love to request you to share the episode with all your friends and supporters as always you have done. And give us your 5 stars, download our episode, and let us know what works, what you liked, and what you didn't, and what are the other topics that we can talk about. And until we connect with you the next time on the next episode, this is bye from us. Have a good day.
Bye bye.